Okay, so I nomaded in Koh Samui for 2 months, and here is why I don't recommend it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful island. It's tropical, it's scenic, and it has a lot to offer. But for digital nomading, it scores low from me, and that's from someone who has worked in 7 different cities and counting. Now, there are 4 main reasons I can tell you, with number 4 being the main reason why I didn't have as good a time here as I thought I was going to have. And to be honest, I'm ready to move on. So if you're thinking of going, you probably want to watch this video first. Hi there, my name's Naluka Kavanagh. I'm a digital nomad. I'm a 2-times entrepreneur. I've had both an online coaching business and a tech startup. I'm originally from London, where I previously was in consulting at a Big 4 firm. And almost 2 years ago now, I decided to work from anywhere and start a business. Now, this experience taught me so much, and this channel is where I share a lot of those learnings. Now, I have nomaded in many cities: Shanghai, Lisbon, Valencia, Istanbul. But going to an island was a first for me. And I had heard that Koh Samui was great, and I'd even been recommended it. I thought, why not? It also seemed to have more infrastructure than the other islands and seemed to have more going on. Now, what I would say is that it is a great island to visit and travel to. And actually, if you want to hunker down and work for say 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's probably okay for that too. But to digital nomad for a longer period, it's not for me. And these are my reasons why. Number 1, there isn't much of a young crowd. Now, this island has a lot of retired people and a lot of families. Now, of course, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you are a nomad and you're between, let's say, the ages of 20 and 40, you probably want to meet more people who are similar to you, who have a similar energy, a similar vibe. Here, I just didn't really find that. There are a lot of people who are here on holiday, and I still remember the first meetup I went to. It was all guys. There were about 10 guys. They were all over 40. Now, they were super lovely, and actually I became friends with one really interesting person, previous business owner, former CEO, investor, really interesting guy. But I felt pretty out of place there. There was no one like me. And even walking around, there was a lot of families, a lot of older people. And if I compare that to, say, Koh Phangan, the sister island where I went on a trip there, I noticed that there was more of a young nomad community and much more of an energetic vibe. Second reason, public transport. To get around, it is hard. Now, I was told that they had Bolt and Grab, but they really don't work very well here. So there are standard taxis, but they are very expensive, and they have a really bad reputation on the island for charging prices much more than the Thailand standard. There's no tuk-tuks, and the island is big. So the main way to get around is the scooter. But if you haven't ridden a scooter before, I would not recommend Thailand for this. There are a lot of accidents, the roads are unsafe, and there are a lot of crashes with people who can't ride very well and don't know the roads well. I would only recommend getting a scooter if you're an experienced driver, but even then, please be safe, please wear a helmet. So apart from having a scooter, there's no other real way to get around minus these taxis. So for me, it became extremely frustrating. I wanted to get around the island, but I had to pay always. And this basically really limited my time there and how much I wanted to see. Versus, let's say, nomading in other cities where it's much easier to get around through public transport or through car riding apps. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please do like and subscribe. It helps me reach more people like you. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn, Naluka Kavanagh, where I talk more about digital nomadism, online business, and digital entrepreneurship. Okay, let's move on to the third reason. Mediocre Wi-Fi and co-working spaces. The Wi-Fi in Koh Samui is okay. It's not the best. You can, of course, get away with it. I've been able to work here. But if you are doing a lot of calls, it's probably not the right place for you. I had to hotspot a few times. I did also join a co-working space, which was fine, but there was no aircon. The aircon co-working spaces do exist, but they lack an atmosphere and any community feel. And the one that's near me is high priced for basically some desks, chairs, and aircon. And anyone who watches my co-working video knows that's not what makes a good co-working space. You need that community feel. And it's funny because I was speaking to someone on the island and we were both saying that there is an opportunity for someone to really create an amazing co-working space in Koh Samui because it doesn't exist at the moment. Speaking of community, let's go to the fourth reason I don't recommend Koh Samui as a place for digital nomads. It's because there isn't really a digital nomad community here. Meeting people is so hard. I found that there was no regular meetups that happen for digital nomads. It's very ad hoc when there are meetups. There is a WhatsApp group, there is a Facebook group, but there is little activity. And for the first time in my nomad journey, I actually had to resort to Bumble Friends to try and make friends here. And I've never had to do that before. Compare this to when I went to Koh Tao, another one of the smaller islands near Samui. It was so easy to meet people and chat organically. But here, I had a really hard time and I felt pretty lonely. I remember the first 2 weeks calling a friend and crying on the phone by saying how alone I felt because I just couldn't find the other nomads. Luckily, in the end, I did make friends here. I found a great group of people, but it wasn't like there were lots of digital nomad meetups, events, activities, which is what I'm used to when I was, say, in Lisbon or Chiang Mai. Of course, if you're not bothered by that, if you're not bothered by meeting other nomads, and you're not bothered by not having anyone to work remotely with, then it's not going to be a problem for you. But for me, it really was. So, Koh Samui, don't get me wrong, a beautiful island, great to come for a few weeks, and I do think that it has some things to offer, but for me, in terms of a place for digital nomads, it just didn't really hit the spot. I'm very excited to go to Da Nang next, where I think it will have more of a digital nomad feel, but apart from that, I don't really have any plans to come back to Koh Samui in the future. Don't get me wrong, like I say, beautiful island, but as a digital nomad, didn't quite hit the spot for me. So I hope that was helpful, and I very much look forward to seeing you here next time.